Sunny Deol and Rajkumar Santoshi have had an extremely long-standing and successful collaborative relationship since the 90s. In an era where most filmmakers completely lose their touch on how to make movies with the same conviction as they did in their prime, I've always felt that Rajkumar Santoshi is one creator who still has a grasp on the emotional beats of storytelling and is widely underrated for at least his range. From the pitch of absurdity with Andaz Apna Apna and Ajab Prem Ki Gazab Kahani to the wild conviction in commercial potboilers like Ghayal and Ghatak. The man has praiseworthy range, and it was one of the main reasons why I was interested to see his adaptation of the play by Asghar Wajahat titled Jis Lahore Na Vekhya O Jamia Nahi, a play that I'm sure for some of you was in your Hindi curriculum in school too. The film focuses on Sikandar Mirza, played by Sunny Deol, who lives with his family in India, celebrating on the eve of Independence Day. Partition is associated with celebration as well as extreme violence. The harsh reality of religious hatred and violence compels the family to cross the border for their own sake and settle in Lahore. After spending months in refugee camps, the family is finally allotted a plot, only to be shocked that a Hindu woman played by Shabana Azmi is living in a room on the first floor and has not vacated the same property. How the Muslim family deals with the presence of the Hindu woman in their newly allotted house, how extremist forces hate the very presence of a Hindu woman having not left Lahore, and the manner in which Sikandar's family slowly warms up to the presence of Shabana Azmi, progressively living like a harmonious family only to cause ripples in society, manifesting in the form of accusations and violence for how dare one live in religious harmony in the neighborhood, forms the premise of Batwara 1947. The film has been produced by Aamir Khan, and I witnessed it in a half-empty theatre on Friday evening, only to be way more invested in its tale than I originally envisioned. Does Santoshi still have the conviction, and most importantly, does Sunny Deol have something in his repertoire beyond the shouting and angry leading man that has become synonymous with his name? Here's me telling you the good and bad aspects of the film so that you guys can ultimately decide whether to watch Batwara 1947 in theaters or not. The relationships and evolution. There is something about the warmth of a mother that can organically melt all the hatred and animosity within you, and there is genuinely something magical about the presence of Shabana Azmi that just disarms all the bitterness that you may have within you. The relationship between the Muslim family and the Hindu woman who never left her home is met with a lot of resistance and annoyance initially. The presence of the old woman is a nuisance and a liability for the family. They discuss in ways she can be manipulated and chucked out of the house that was originally hers anyway. As Preity Zinta with her daughter are getting accustomed to the space and looking for basic amenities, Azmi acts as a guiding light, welcoming them as guests versus being vengeful towards strangers who have essentially taken over her home. This neutralizes so much of the resentment Sunny Deol and her family have towards Azmi, a woman who only showed them kindness, even when she was reprimanded and told to go to India. Even when one of the family members threatened Shabana Azmi with violence, Preeti is shocked at what has consumed them with so much hatred. She is left speechless when Azmi checks on her versus being worried about her own safety. The relationship evolves beautifully, just like the Tulsi plant in the center of the Angan, withered and ignored initially, and as Preity Zinta and Shabana Azmi grow fond of each other, the Tulsi plant, now treated with tender care, starts to show life again. The core, the very heart of the film is the evolution of the dynamic between Sunny Deol and Shabana Azmi, which I will come to later, but I must say the organic progression of this relationship in that house, from sheer animosity and distance to tender care and empathy for each other, was beautifully written and etched out. Set-like aesthetic and over-the-top action. One of the biggest stumbling blocks for me personally while trying to get invested in the story of Batwara 1947 included the visual aesthetic of the film. Even though the movie has been shot by legendary cinematographer Santosh Shivan, I found the set-like aesthetic to be hugely distracting. The film aims to transport us to Lahore in 1947, and it clearly looks like an artificial set with cobbled streets, with generic shops and signages, and it never felt like a tale close to 80 years ago, at least visually. It reminded me of the same problem I had with Donkey 2, where the neighborhood itself just looked way too curated and artificial than ever feeling like a story told from Punjab. Another huge problem that the film suffers from is this incessant need to present Sunny Deol as an action star, especially in a tale where these over-the-top physical theatrics momentarily clock you out of the emotional tale. There are two action set pieces, one on a railway station where Deol is barely being able to run, and the second associated with literally Deol running and anyone coming in his way flying in the air like this was Nagarjuna from Mass or Balaya from Veera Simha Reddy. These action set pieces are associated with otherwise emotionally effective scenes. So when you are dealing with actors really pouring their heart and soul into the dramatic scenes, and then you quickly cut away to Deol with one punch making people fly in the air, it gives you whiplash. The blocking of these action scenes is in complete contrast to the tale being told, and I believe if the action set pieces were slightly grounded, it wouldn't stick out like such a sore thumb. I know the channel has become a Ghatak fan page in the last few days or so, but when the action of a film set close to 30 years ago could still be understated in its pitch, I wonder why the makers resorted to such over-the-top theatrics with its action, dialogues and Rajkumar Santoshi conviction. The perception with most vintage filmmakers who saw their heyday in the 90s is that their sensibilities have not evolved at all holistically as the years have gone by. I mean, if I were to just tell you, I had the misfortune to watch Andaz 2 directed by Sunil Darshan in theaters. I saw Zora directed by Rajiv Ravi, both directors who were exceptional in the late 90s and early 2000s. But these movies were so outdated last year that I was blown away on how much one can dip in terms of quality as filmmakers. While Santoshi still may struggle with certain editing and action blocks, there is a conviction in his drama, in the emotional scenes shared between characters that is absolutely undeniable. He still remains a man who has a hold on the commercial beats, especially on how a tale can be elevated by effective dialogues. The dialogues written by Santoshi himself and the playwright Asghar Wajahat, some of the scenes really pack the punch in hitting the message of the film right on the bullseye, and this deeply resonates with you as a viewer. There is just something about the confidence of Sunny Deol when threatened by goons that just is whistle-worthy. When challenged with the words "Panga lena hai kya?" and Deol with absolute ease says "Irada to nahi hai, par ittiraz bhi nahi hai," people were hooting. There are brief homages to Damini and Gadar, an outburst in a government office that immediately reminded me of his outburst in Ghatak in the hospital when Deol says "Sab kuch jala dunga," frustrated at the silent bystanders who simply become spectators to the injustice they are subject to. You root for him and his vow to protect Shabana Azmi from extremists with nothing but hate within their core. An extension of an analogy of Martians from Main Vapas Aunga creeps in here too, as rioters and goons, those who are not humans, those who spread venom pretending to be protectors of faith, annoyed at the thought of harmony among various faiths, only to shudder with fear and get cold feet when confronted with the community unified and which rejects religious dogmatism. This movie will definitely ruffle feathers as it presents a Muslim hero and his family living in harmony with a Hindu woman and presents how one can do the same while never compromising on their personal religious beliefs. A tough pill to swallow for the polarized world of hatred we live in today. I won't lie, there are portions where the dialogues venture into lecture mode, especially in a scene where Deol is with Abhimanyu Singh in front of what seems like a council. But when the movie is not forcefully lecturing us but focusing on the relationships, it's very effective. 90s के visual cues थोड़े dated तो हैं, but there is something about the emotional conviction of the 90s directors that still decades later just hits. Accent and distracting inconsistent performances. I hate that I have these oscillating mixed feelings about this movie, but they simply cannot be ignored. You go from appreciating so much in the film to then momentarily being completely stripped away from the tale due to the inconsistencies that are glaringly obvious. I love Abhimanyu Singh as an actor. I mean, look at the range of a man to pull off something as despicable as Rananjay Singh in Gulal and someone as endearing as his character in Adarsh Bal Vidyalaya recently. But the man and his accent in the film just gave me a minor headache. The man enunciated his tennus and menus, ending every sentence with karanga so much that I really wondered how no one stopped him because he was really hamming it with the accent specifically. The film has the pitch visually of a one-act play on stage. Goons with a big mole, with odd hairstyles, one with a partially blind eye, all elements that are very exaggerated and from the world of theatre that for the perspective of the cinema of today does seem dated. I love Preity Zinta. You know how much of a crush I have on her. I was obsessed and I genuinely was so happy to see her on the big screen. But there is something partially distracting about her in these traditional roles that always seems like a city girl masquerading as a dutiful wife versus it ever seeming fully natural. Each time Preeti is given some news, she exclaims, Hi Allah, and it never seemed like a natural reaction from her. The way she embraces Sunny Deol, the way she slowly gravitates towards Shabana Azmi is heartfelt, but I was not fully convinced with the way she sunk her teeth into this role. The most glaring performance of the film, however, is of Karan Deol, playing the role of the son, still consumed by hatred because of his own experiences during partition, and it cemented a perception in his head. His moments of anger, emotional despair, and even light banter are associated with him having absolutely no expressions. His dialogue delivery is flat, and I just wanted to hold his shoulder as a concerned viewer and just wanted to exclaim that it's done, bro. Every time the actor comes on screen, it clocks you out of the film. It's so distracting to see his reactions and outbursts. He has a brief romantic track too that is not even partially convincing, and this attempt to relaunch the talent falls absolutely flat, for no one will be convinced that there has been any improvement since Karan was first launched 7 years ago. I can't believe the makers could compromise the project so much. This adamant need to cast one's own child who was so out of his depth, not realizing it heavily weighed down the quality of the film. Emotional core and climax. There is something that I absolutely love when filmmakers subvert expectations. There is a belief of what a Sunny Deol star entails, and this, beyond some of the action blocks, absolutely dunks on those expectations. You don't see a Deol who is only yelling in this film. You see this man who for decades has been the face of testosterone and physical grit on screen show sensitivity and care for an individual who takes the shape of becoming a mother he never had. This dynamic between Shabana Azmi and Sunny Deol is the effective emotional core of this movie. When Shabana Azmi gets shamed in public, disrobed and beaten, you can't help but feel the anger that develops within Sunny Deol. When Azmi feels like a burden to the family for the sheer problems she has caused in their life, Deol turns around and asks her if she would leave had her real son been here. They embrace one another, and just the visual of this man, representative of everything macho and mighty, crumbling within the arms of Shabana Azmi just emotionally wrecked me. There is something so deeply maternal about Shabana Azmi and her portrayal here that I saw my late Dadi in her. Just this warmth and love that makes you melt, even making someone like Sunny Deol emotionally willing to make the world burn for her sake. A supporting role in the form of Ali Fazal is also associated with restraint and pragmatism in an environment that is inundated with violence across the board. The visual of the climax of this movie is so powerful, especially on what it represents in our society today, that I was genuinely in awe of it, enhanced even further by the song Maa Kaha Ja Rahi Hai, beautifully composed by A.R. Rahman. Despite this highlight, this image of the climax that will stay with me for days to come, the question really stayed with me. Is symbolism and messaging enough to paper over the cracks of storytelling? It breaks my heart to admit that it's not enough. At its very core, Batwara 1947 is so emotionally moving, but it's undeniable that it is weighed down by inconsistent performances and a 90s dated aesthetic and editing pattern that in brief intervals just strips you away from its earnestness. And that was a video, guys. Write down in the comments below what you thought about Batwara 1947. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.